We are live, so everything said is of the record. So this is the third National Training Fund webinar that we're doing. We've done two so far that were kind of specifically focused on grant funding. And Lee Worley reached out to me and the training fund, and we kind of thought, well, let's bring some more content, see if we can expand this thing rather than just have a defined discussion on grants. So this will be our first one that we're doing that today. You should have all got the agenda in the either meeting invite or the emails that I sent out. We will review that right now. I'll share my screen. So for those of you who maybe don't have it, you can see it. Okay, so first thing we're going to cover today, I'll give you guys have probably heard me beating the drum about the Apprentices Build America grant. We'll talk about that. I'll kind of let you know the status there, what we're doing. Maybe some of you have heard about the Ironworkers International Pre-Apprenticeship program that we're trying to develop and expand across the country and how that relates with the Apprenticeship Build America grant. We'll kind of give you an update of where we're at on that. Lee Worley is going to discuss the annual training program, some updates, things we're doing there, apprenticeship competition, some certified rigger stuff, and then we'll jump into a Q&A. So that's kind of what we're going to be covering today. And then at the end, this is an open forum. I don't want this to be like a closed thing. So if you have anything that, questions, please put them in the chat. We'll address them. I've got the chat up right now. All of us are monitoring it. We've got Brian and Lee and myself monitoring the chat. So if you got any questions or anything, please put them there. Okay. With that being said, the Apprenticeship Build America grant, basically it's due next Monday. Some of you may or may not have been working on that. It's $113 million across the country. A lot of this money is probably going to end up in your states in the form of expanding apprenticeship programs, opportunities of apprenticeship to underrepresented communities and populations, or even developing pre-apprenticeships in your area. So if you're not applying specifically for the ABA grant, what I would say to you is once we get into about July or August, we will be able to see who was awarded those monies. And what states and what areas those monies went to. So we'll kind of shift our discussion on that, more looking at how you can find and capitalize on those funds in your area. So did they go to, some pre-apprenticeship organization that tries to help, people get into apprenticeships, and can you kind of develop a relationship with those folks and do some things, or how can we at a local level at that point capitalize on those funds? It is a lot of money. I think they were talking about only doing 25 awards out of that whole 113 million. But I think with all of the applications that are being submitted, I'm hearing that there's a lot of them. That number could increase. So we could see, awards being given to whole states, right? Things of that nature. So we'll keep an eye on that, and I'll keep you all posted there. We, as the National Training Fund, working with Lee Worley and our staff, we have been working on a $3 million proposal to the Apprentices Build America grant. And what that's going to look like, in my experience as training director for the Pacific Northwest District Council, we did a lot of grant funded pre-apprenticeship programs, and that was kind of my world. And my vision was, when I was doing that work, was, man, how great would this be if we could take this pre-apprenticeship model and just really expand it across the country and help our JATC programs supplement the cost of their apprenticeship intake, through grant funding. And some of the things that I ran into were, coordinators and training directors and things, just really being so busy, kind of not having the time, or really not having the, just being comfortable with kind of the grant structure, and really not in a space to go out and really start to capture grant funding. And so I was thinking to myself, how can we as the National Training Fund kind of help facilitate those first moves? And so what we're doing is we're doing a $3 million grant proposal. It's going to fund, if awarded, I mean, we got to win the money, but if awarded, it's going to fund the Ironworkers International Pre-Apprenticeship Program. It's a 4-year contract. We are going to commit to placing 500 apprentices in all of our JATCs across the country in the form of a 2-week pre-apprenticeship program. So what does that mean to you as a training coordinator or a local union? Basically, you would pick 10 to 15 individuals to bring into your program. We as the National Training Fund would facilitate about a $60,000 fund for you to put on that cohort and then direct entry those individuals after that 2-week pre-apprenticeship. You could do this as a regional, as a district council. Each one kind of pick people, send them to a training facility, do the cohort. Everybody goes back to their JATCs and goes to work. You get to keep all of the equipment and everything. It pays for your instructors. It's a pretty good program. We've got curriculum developed, whether you're a structural or an ornamental or a reinforcing local or a mixed local. We've got that too. We've got all the budget breakdowns ready. And it's really a good opportunity. So part of that's going to take place if we get awarded is those apprentices will get supportive services prior to getting into the 2-week pre-apprenticeship program, during the 2-week pre-apprenticeship program, and 6 months into the registration of apprenticeship. So even after you register these apprentices and put them to work, they're going to be having those supportive services there to help eliminate those barriers and make sure that they're successful in your programs. And all of these applicants can come right off of your application list. There is some women and minority requirements there. Certain percentage have to be from underrepresented communities and populations, depressed zip codes, things of that nature. And really that's what that supportive services is for. They're going to come in and help you facilitate that stuff. So that's kind of an update there. Our application is due Monday. I actually have a meeting after this one where we're going to finalize our proposal and submit it to DOL. So if we do get awarded, I believe the funds will be available starting July 1st of this year. They'll run through 4 years, and I'm going to be reaching out to a lot of the district council presidents, training directors, coordinators to help me and the National Training Fund make sure that this thing's a success. So does anybody have, I know that's a lot. Does anybody have any questions on that specifically? Like I told Lee the other day, I don't want anybody to be kind of blindsided when we get this $3 million and now we got to get to work. So if you guys do have any questions, comments, or concerns on, how that looks, how you can utilize it, how can you capitalize on it in your area, feel free to reach out to me on the side if you don't have anything here. But that's what we got going on. Lee, do you have any comments that you want to make on that pre-apprenticeship or that grant proposal? Or are you good?
No, I'm good. This is just going to be, like the tip of the spear going forward as far as, all right, we're jumping into the grants. We've all been faced with it one way or another, whether we saw the email in the past and deleted it. I have too. I'm not blaming anybody in the past. When I sat in the coordinator chair, I get those. I was intimidated. This is going to be the learning curve where we're going to learn from it and move forward and not get intimidated by it. James, he's had some well-groomed mentors in the past that got him up and running through the Pacific Northwest. He knows more about grants as an ironworker than I know. And I asked him when he came on board, we really thought, James asked me, how much time do you want me to spend on grants? And I can't remember the time, maybe 5 or 10%, and it's turning into a lot more, but that's fine. We want to, I told you last webinar, I love spending other people's money. And if we can get grants to fund our pre-apprenticeship programs, to get apprentices into the program, pre-trained to increase our graduation rates, that's where we want to go. So I want to take this one to move forward and learn from it. And hopefully in the years to come, this will just be a part of the coordinator's job description. Thanks, James. Yeah.
Yeah. Good points. And, if you are, I will, in closing, I will say one thing that we're in the process of developing that grant fundamentals course that's going to be available at Ann Arbor. Last I heard, Lee Worley said that it was basically filled up already. It is to capacity. we're working at, you know, making sure we're ready for that to bring you some good content. So if you know anybody's in it, reach out to them afterwards. They're going to have some good resources and some good perspective. If you didn't get in it this year, we're going to be doing it every year. So what we know is that these grants are typically cyclical and they happen kind of every year or every quarter or every 4 years. And so if you miss them, don't feel bad. They typically come around again. And that's all I got. Okay. If you don't have any questions there, that kind of covers the ABA, our vision on the Ironworkers International Pre-Apprenticeship Program. We're going to get into, Lee Worley's going to talk about the annual training program coming up. I know we're all super excited to be back in person. And I know that Lee is busy planning that and getting that ready. So Lee's going to discuss some of the new courses, recent changes to the annual training, and I'll let you have the floor, Lee.
Okay, so you caught me writing some notes. You said you talked about the pre-apprenticeship grant already? Sorry about that.
Yes. Yes, okay. Pre-apprenticeship grant is good. We are going into your update on recent changes, new courses at the annual training center or at the annual training in Michigan.
Okay, I'm going to start off saying a good day, everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. James and Brian, myself, Michael, Sampson, Jason Corder, we're really excited about doing this monthly thing. I think we're on to something. I think we're going to have a dedicated subject line for the first half hour of every monthly webinar. And the last half hour just could be, you know, different subject lines that we're going to talk about. We're going to answer questions. We're going to have different guest speakers. And so we're really excited. I hope all of you are well. I do want to make one quick comment before I get rolling. So yesterday I put the listserv message out about someone requesting information they wanted on their tri-folder brochure for their apprenticeship program. This is exactly what listserv is all about. The number of responses I got back immediately and even today has been phenomenal. So please, if you have questions, there's no sense in reinventing the wheel. If you're new or even experienced and you don't have experience in an area, ask a question on listserv, get it posted, and get it out there. So this person who wanted this information, he's going, good God, he said, within the first 2 hours, there are probably 3 or 4 responses right away, 10 more last night, and about 10 more this morning. So thank you. That's what listserv is all about. Keep it up. Okay, so moving into the annual training program. So I had my assistant Courtney and Cynthia run reports, and we're looking pretty good right now. Right now for the opening ceremony, we've got 381 people enrolled in Ann Arbor, which is good for end of April. I think the registration cuts off right around the first part of June, so we still got about 5 weeks to go. And I know there's plenty more people that are going to be enrolling. 2019, I would say a couple of years up prior to the pandemic, we were up to about 700 to 800 people on campus at Washtenaw. And even though I don't think we're going to hit that number this year, I think we're going to be close. If we were at 70 to 80%, I told the trustees that's the number I was looking at, and I think we're going to hit that without a problem. So with the travel restrictions lessening, the planes, that's going to help. I do want you to keep in mind that University of Michigan, for those who are staying in the dorms, you have to be vaccinated, and they will not lift that mandate by the time we're there. So thank you for signing up. And if you have been vaccinated, great. If you're not, you're still welcome on campus at Washtenaw Community College. They're not requiring a WCC to be vaccinated. It's just right now, you still have to wear a mask in the classrooms or the cafeteria. But that's it. There's no vaccination requirement at Washtenaw, just at University of Michigan. So that'll include the people in the dorms and also those students who are enrolled at the CWI course, because we hold the Certified Welding Inspector course at University of Michigan for a lot of different reasons. One, to keep them a lot less distractions, close to the food, and I know they have long late night study periods, so they're there. So I appreciate that. And that CWI class is full, by the way. lot of the PDC courses get filled up right away. We've only got 1 spot left in PDC 4, 2 spots left in PDC 3. PDC 1 and 2, we offer them quite a bit throughout the day. Some are near full or getting full. We do have spaces for them. For your new instructors, I know PDC 1 and 2 is required. Get your people involved and enrolled in that before June 1st. The apprenticeship tracking system, it's good to see that there's just 1 spot left. We've got to get courses entered into the ATS. A lot of people are doing it, and there's still quite a few programs that are not using the ATS. So that's important that we have all our coordinators and instructors enrolled in that course. In fact, I had one coordinator ask me, he did not want his instructors taking the ATS course. And that's one of the requirements we have for the qualified instructor certificate. And I spoke with the coordinator and I said, usually when the coordinator leaves through retirement, or maybe he was, elected a business agent, most of the time, not always, most of the time it's the instructor who takes over as the coordinator. So if he has a little bit of experience with the ATS, he knows what he's getting into. It's just a little bit easier transition. So that's why the ATS course is part of the qualified certificate. And again, happy to report there's just 1 spot left. Like I said, the CWI course is full. The new coordinator course, only 5 spots left. We've had a lot of new coordinators the last couple of years. I know that we conducted a virtual course the last 2 years and they've been successful. It's great to see that. You can always retake the new coordinator course if you want to do it live. That's not a problem. The experienced coordinator course, we still have about 15 spots left. And I don't care if you've been a coordinator, whether it's 2 years or 20 years, you're going to get value out of that course. You will. And if you don't, I'll buy you a 5th of your favorite whiskey. There's something for everybody to learn something from. And I've actually had a coordinator in the past. He's been retired for 5 or 6 years. He never went to the coordinator course, and I goaded him into it. He went. He thought he knew everything. And afterwards, he said, hey, thank you for making me go there. Makes me a better coordinator, makes my program a better program. So we got some great instructors, great class outline, class agenda, and you're going to get something out of it.
Hey, Lee.
Yes.
I've had a couple questions from some coordinators in my area regarding the IICB renewal certificates that are typically handed out. I know we had been mailing them out a little bit because of COVID. Do we anticipate anybody, or are we going to be handing them out on stage this time, or where's that kind of cutoff going to be to where they're being mailed? Or
well, even though we haven't had the conference and we haven't recognized them on stage because we've been holding virtual, we will recognize them individually at the podium, and then we're going to do a group photo at the end. So they may not receive a certificate, but we will do a group photo. Same with the qualified instructor certificate. We usually do the IICB on Sunday night at the opening ceremony, and the qualified instructor certificate is usually done on Thursday night at the closing. I just want to repeat, maybe it's not a repeat for some of the new people. Probably 7-8 years ago, we changed from a Friday night closing ceremony to a Thursday night. One is, since we moved to Michigan, a lot more people drive to Ann Arbor instead of flying when we were down in San Diego. So we were losing a lot of people for the closing ceremony. It is on Thursday. And just to remind you, classes are held 8 to 5 o'clock on Friday. You have to be there in order to get your certificate. Is there a question? I'm sorry.
No tengo dinero.
I got it, Lee. We just had somebody unmuted. I got him muted.
Oh, no problem. Okay. So that's what's with that. So we're looking good for participation, registration. We still have quite a few people that still have to get permission through their JATC or local union. Registration is to early June. Get them in. If you have any questions, please call my department. I sent the email out in the past. I can resend it. I'll probably end up resending it again on listserv. And if those of you who are not on listserv, I take it everybody who's on this call pretty much pays attention to listserv, or you wouldn't be here. But if you've got another coordinator that you talk to in another area and they're not involved, they don't check their listserv messages, This is going to be a requirement when I get to Denver, Colorado at the apprenticeship competition and the coordinator meeting this September, Local 24 in Denver. I love the apprenticeship competition. I first started going in 1996 when I was a new coordinator in Portland, Local 29. I was usually, I think I've been a judge at every one of them except one until I got to this position. I love the competition, it's great, but I tell you what, my passion is that 2-day coordinator meeting. That is a must go to. And the business managers / business agents, they're required by the General Secretary's office to attend business agent training yearly, required. I want that mandatory for coordinators. I want everybody, I only hold this once every 2 years live, and I think we're going to be doing a virtual coordinator meeting on the off year. But that coordinator meeting is important. I tell my department staff, look what's been on your plate the last 2 years. Everything that you're involved in majority of the time are going to be topics of discussion. Everything from the certified rigger and Signalperson program to IICB to welding updates, you name it, it's going to be there. Please be there. Tell your JTC they're invited, your business manager. Last time we were live, 2018 in Minneapolis, we had over 130 people attend the meeting, and we were never in triple digits before that meeting. It's always been in between 70 and 90. So it's growing in popularity. There's a lot of people are starting to realize there's a lot of information, and I want you there. Do what you have to. I don't care if you have an apprentice in the competition or not. Come to the meeting and leave it right afterwards if you have to, if you can't afford the hotel. If your business manager or your JTC doesn't think it's worth your time, you call me and I'll talk to them personally to get you there. It's that important. The competition, what else on the competition? So I sent out a little notice a little while ago regarding the dates, and registration for the competition will probably be, I don't know, in about 2 or 3 weeks, you'll get more information on the competition. You may or may not realize that on the ironworkers.org website, under training and then under apprenticeship competition, you're going to notice under the rules for the outside rules, we changed the burning and welding portion of the competition. I love the old version where they had the 4-position 3/8 fillet plate test, flat, overhead, vertical, and overhead. I think that's great practice. And I love the fact that they could burn. They were practicing that burning. Those are great skills as an iron worker. But what were they basically doing? They were practicing the test. And that's great, but to me, that's not a true competition. So I got with my crew and we updated it, and we've got a simple drawing, nothing complicated about it. If your apprentices can read a simple drawing, they're going to cope a beam, burn some holes, and weld an angle in all 4 positions according to the details. If they can add feet and inches, add and subtract feet and inches, they're going to be golden. There's nothing more complicated than that. So we're just kind of going to up it a little bit, see how it works out. I hope it's popular. If it's not, we'll try something different, but I'm just trying to change it up a little bit. All the other events are going to be the same. Since the last live competition in 2018, usually the judges of the competition is on a volunteer basis. You get no compensation from my department. I'm not paying for your flight, a hotel. It's just sort of you want to do it, you not want to do it. And I've had 12 judges since 2018, which are basically coordinators, either retire or became a business agent. And I'm looking for some good qualified experienced help judging the competition. If you think you maybe could help me out, just send me a quick email and we'll take a look at it. So, I don't want you to call and tell me, hey, I'll judge the rebar, I'll judge the column climb. I don't need that. Any monkey can do that. I need somebody who's good at judging the rigging, the ornamental, instrument reading, etc. And I'll give you an example. I did rigging and welding and burning a lot, but as far as ornamental instrument reading, I could do the instrument reading, but I never judged it. Ornamental, completely out of my ballpark. So I don't care if you have all the talent in all those areas. If you're strong in 3 or 4, give me a holler. And if I can use you and your JTC says it's okay, it won't take, if you're already there, it's just a matter of keeping you busy. If you're not there, if you don't want to be, you're still a participant at the coordinator meeting, that'd be great. But we are looking for more experienced judges for the competition. Anything on the chat line, Brian or James, regarding the competition before I move on?
I don't have any questions regarding the competition. We've got some people sharing maybe some drawings that they've moved to instead of the cutting of the plate. Joseph asks, I no longer get my listserv emails and don't remember any of my credentials. How would I go about getting access?
Have them send an IT help desk request, IT help desk, and just state the message and they will help you. They're usually pretty quick turnaround on that request.
There you go, Joseph.
And if you can't remember that, just get a hold of me or James or Sampson or Corder or Tannehill, and we'll get you directed to the right person.
Yep, my email's in the chat if you guys need to hit me up on anything.
Yeah, so I answered his chat and told him to just email one of us and we'd help him get his stuff situated. Okay,
there you go. Bart and Courtney got it in the main chat now too. I'm excited about the competition being live again. I think it's super great. I had the privilege to be down in California and vicinity yesterday with their district council apprenticeship competition, and you know, just the camaraderie and seeing all of those outstanding apprentices being together and competing. And you know, we've all been there, we've all seen it when they're rooting each other on, even at the, you know, detriment of maybe them winning, you know, just rooting each other on and just really being a cohesive unit, man. It's a pretty special thing to see. So I'm excited to be back in person here. This will be great, I think. Other than that, does anybody have any questions on the annual training or the apprenticeship competition? You can type them in chat or unmute yourself if you'd like before we move on.
I just got a question. I know I poked at Jason about it just to make sure it stays on the radar and stuff. Was with the ATS, the iWatts and iWits, I mean, they're fully functional with Internet Explorer. Internet Explorer June 16th, I believe, is becoming obsolete to where you're not supposed to use it at all anymore. And so I was wondering if we have any kind of ideas about what other browsers would be the best to use compatibility wise for like uploading sign-in sheets and all that stuff, because a lot of the buttons on the other browsers don't function with iWatts and even sometimes with iWits.
I'm going to defer to either Michael Sampson or Bart, unless James or Brian could help out, or Jason. So go ahead, Bart.
I use Windows 11, and I've been using the Microsoft Edge browser emulation mode. And so far, I haven't had any hiccups running iWits or iWatts using that. So that's
Bart,
my
I got to ask
recommendation.
you, Bart, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. So for those of us at headquarters on the Surface Pro computers, what does IT suggest? Have they come out with a suggestion yet?
Not that I know of, and I'm not with IT, but I haven't seen any official announcements. I just know that because of my setup, what I do,
Oh, you're
I
a
have to
Mac
run
guy.
Windows.
That's right. You're a Mac guy,
Well,
right?
but I do run Windows. I am, but I do run Windows 11, and you know, which most folks haven't switched over to, which forced me to use Edge because Windows 11 doesn't have IE anymore, and the emulation mode's been working great for me with iWits and iWatts. Mike, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, so where they're having problems at, Bart, is the downloading of cards and images and creating when they're downloading and stuff. So the basic functions they can do on Edge, look people up, get transcripts, that kind of stuff, but downloading classes, certifying classes, printing their cards, the kind of more stuff where you're downloading information and stuff like that, they can't do. And there is an update in the ATS, iWits, iWatts, up in the top right-hand corner. It's not very clear to see, but there's a link up there where you can go what's new, or I forget the exact, maybe I can pull it up if I can get there, guys. It'll take me a few minutes, Lee. Maybe I can come back to it I can share my screen.
Yeah, why don't we pick that up under Q&A general discussion, Mike, and we'll give you a couple minutes there to kind of go through that. Any questions on the annual training or the apprenticeship competition? Looks like we're pretty good. I don't see anything in chat. We'll give Mike a little bit to get set up to kind of go over that stuff. Lee, if we want to move down into, and Brian as well, the certified rigger and signal person. Basically kind of what we got going on there, the importance of the program, testing, things of that nature, kind of where we're moving.
Sure. I just want to have a general discussion. We're not going to get too deep into it because I know down the road I would like to have a dedicated webinar for Brian and myself, really dig down into the statistics and where people are succeeding and maybe need help on. But one of the things we've noticed, and Brian works with, he handles all the statistics about, where they're succeeding and where they're not succeeding. And the big portion, what this is a surprise to all of us, where the majority of the people are failing on the practical part is the voice and hand signals. And I really shook my head when I was told this. Of course, we've known this probably for the last year, but what's happening, and I wrote an article, my department and I drafted an article in the May magazine regarding this issue. There's a lot of people are using maybe area practice and maybe not the universal chart signals that are required. And, I've connected, I've been in the air a lot, and I was taught the right way to do things when I was an apprentice, the universal signals. Then I had to get on the job, and you want to do what the journeymen are doing, and you kind of move to a slang hand signal, a voice signal, and you absolutely cannot do that on the exam. Absolutely cannot. So I'm going to turn it over to Brian for a second. Brian, would you just want to make a couple comments regarding the voice and hand signal portion? And even though we think we all know it, and I really think I know it, but you know what? I may fail. I haven't studied for the exam yet, but I'm going to look at it. And I know that there was some area practice that I used in the Northwest that I was taught by journeymen that were probably absolutely not acceptable if I took the certified program. So Brian, if you got a comment or two, I appreciate it.
Yeah. So basically what we're looking for in a certification test is there a rule, right? So is there something written down somewhere that says hard and fast, this is what you have to do? And if we look at that for hand and voice signaling, we can refer to the document that gives us all of our safety practices, the 1926. And in OSHA's 1926, 1400, so that's subpart CC. If we go to Appendix A, it specifically lines out what the proper standard hand signals are. Not only does it give you a picture, but it gives you some verbiage under each one of them that tells you how that signal is supposed to be performed. So when you're doing certification testing, you can't just say, oh, well, this is what it is because that's the way I want it. Well, what's the proof behind it, right? Where do you get your answer at? What makes that answer correct versus what makes this answer correct? So in this instance where we're dealing with hand and voice signals, the chart in the 1926 construction standard is the chart that we use. That chart comes from the ASME B30.5 standard for mobile cranes, and they're very, very similar. There's a little verbiage difference one to the other, but not a lot. It's still a point, right? So the OSHA standard, it says specifically, like if you're going to swing, it says the index finger. Doesn't say fingers, right? So there's little things like that. And look, man, we all do it. Whoever taught us in the field said, oh, signal a crane. Well, the first day you don't know what you're doing. So he signals the crane for you and he just does this, right? Sticks all four fingers out there. In your mind, that's the only way to signal a crane. So you do that for 5 or 10 or 15 years in the field. Then whenever you go into the apprenticeship and you start to teach this as part of your rigging class, you don't go back and look at what the chart says, right? You just, hey, we're going to learn how to do a swing signal for a crane. You stick your hand out there and that's your swing signal. So that's how we kind of get area practice into our vernacular. And that's not necessarily a good thing when we're trying to be all encompassing of the entire international. So what I would say is when you're training this back in your home facilities, make sure that you're pulling the document. The OSHA standard is it's the least amount of safety that we've got. And if they say point a finger, let's point a finger. We can be stricter than that, but we can't be less than that. So that's my only comment as far as hand and voice signals go. If you're going to have somebody come and take this exam, have them spend a couple of days just going over all of the information, you know, even if they've been a rigger for a really long time or you know, a signal person for a long time, make sure that they're going through and looking and just refreshing what the actual correct answer is and not just what an answer is. So any questions for me?
Questions for Brian? If you got some stuff, you can type into chat as well. And if you have any questions regarding the IICB certified rigger and signal person, you can get a hold of Brian. I'll put his email in chat if he hasn't already. It's in there. You can reach out to him if you have any questions or comments.
While we're waiting for the questions, James, I'll just make a couple comments.
Okay.
So, you know, our qualified rigger and signal person program is the bread and butter in our training program for the apprentices. It's the best program out there across the country when you compare it to anybody else's. Hey, that's what we do best. We're riggers. And the reason we went toward the certification program is just that there wasn't a large amount of people pounding on my door saying to do this, just vast pockets around the country where our members were having to purchase and test a third-party certification in order to perform those duties on the job site at a pretty hefty cost. And sometimes that cost or that certification wasn't portable. It wasn't going from job site to job site. So we actually decided in 2017 we would go down that road. In 2018, we actually created the IICB board, and we got accredited last year through our accreditation committee, the NCCA. If you don't need the certification program in your area, it's not required, great. That means they trust you with the qualified program you're doing well. If you do have it in your area, if the certification is required, give us a call. Brian's got his contact out there, so does James, me, and Quarter and Sampson. Get a hold of us. You've heard it mentioned in the magazine, you've heard it on listserv. We'll give you more information. It is not something I don't believe, oh, I've been a rigger for 10 or 15 years, I'm going to challenge the test. I think the comments I had with Michael Sampson, because he took it, he said, hey, unless you're teaching it every day, you're not going to pass this sight unseen. You need to have some prep course. And I'll use myself for an example. I used to teach rigging all the time in my home local, but hey, I've been out of the game a little bit. I've been in the office doing other duties. I may have forgotten a little bit. I need to brush up on it. And I'm going to go back to what Michael said. And Jason Quarter, they said, hey, you really got to have a prep course. Don't go in there blind. You got to study. Don't think, oh, I know hand signals. I do it all the time on the job. Well, you got to know all the hand signals, every single one of them, and the voice to go with it. So prep yourself. And I know that we've got I believe it's Crosby rigging course also offered this year in Ann Arbor. Maybe that'll help your instructors, or, you know, you bring more information regarding the rigging course back to your home local, combined with the qualified rigging, crane and rigging course, reference manuals, student workbooks, and instructor guides at your home local. So And then again, we're the only certification that requires any sort of hours, minimum hours. We require 6,000 hours of trade-related experience in order to be eligible for the exam. We're the only third-party cert that requires this. And if you really think about that, you go online and look at the other requirements for third party, 18 years old, minimum age 18. What sort of experience do you have if you're an 18-year-old and you're good at taking tests? You don't have any field experience, but all of a sudden you're certified. I mean, that scares the heck out of me. So I'm proud of the fact that we have hours behind it. If you've got a project or you got an owner in your area where they're requiring, say, the NCCCO and not our program, give me a holler, give Brian or James, we'll send you a side-by-side comparison between our program and other third parties. I'll never badmouth another third-party certification. I want the owner or the subcontractor or the general to decide what they want for their program. We meet or exceed what everybody else is doing. And then you couple that with the 6,000 hours experience. To me, it's a no-brainer. But again, we're struggling to compete with the NCCO in certain areas. We're exceeding other areas. And in other areas, our qualified program is working out just fine. So, okay, James, any other questions for Brian or on the rigging program before we move on general comments?
I don't see anything under the chat. Does anybody have anything vocally before we move on? I'm going to share the screen back to Mike here in just a minute and let him get back to the ATS. Does anybody have anything on the certified rigger and signal person? All right. None being said.
Hey, I do have one thing, James.
Go ahead, buddy.
So we have a new form that's going out if you haven't purchased a rigging kit yet. It does take a little bit to get everything together to get the rigging kit sent out to you. Have to figure shipping costs and all that stuff. So if you need a rigging kit or you're thinking that you're going to need one and you have a proctor and observer in your local, then get me the information, that you want to order one. That you can find the form on the bookstore. That's the request for a purchase of the kit. And then it takes a week or so to get everything together to get you back the price. But if you're on this meeting and you have sent me the request already, I have shipping costs and stuff for those today. So I'm going to be sending those out here in just a little bit. Thanks.
Nice. One more thing I just thought about, Brian, and we've talked about it. Maybe some aren't aware. Can you briefly go over the process? So they've got their proctors, they've got their observers, they're all ready to rock and roll. They get they order their kit, they've got their frame. What is that process to really be able to let them start rocking and rolling, to get their kind of facility recognized, if you will, and really be able to start pumping out those certifications to their members?
So once you have a proctor and observer, you can apply to get a kit. Once you get the kit and the kit comes to your facility, you have your all of the equipment that you need, the rigging beam, you have the kit. Call me and or send me an email saying that you need to get recognized to be a test site, and then I will meet with you. We might do that by Zoom. I might come out to your facility, whatever works at the time, and then I'll approve your facility that you have all of the equipment, and then you can start, 30 days from there, given the exam, you can start putting in those requests to give the exam.
We've got a question in the chat, Brian. What is included in the kit?
So everything that you need for to test for the Ironworker Rigger certification. The only thing that's not in the kit, so that's all of the practical equipment. The only thing that's not in the kit is the frame and the picking load. Those are the two things that's not in there. So you'll have to get those. You'll also have to get, there's a couple of other items, bundle of loose material, a piece of 4-foot stock with eyes, So that's not included in the kit, but all of the rigging hardware and components that you would need would be in that kit. Comes in a box. The box has a lock in it. It's a, so the lock is a tumbler lock. So you'll be, so we have it preset for what the password is to get in there, the code to get into the box. And that would just stay the way that it is. If you need to get in it, you forgot what the code was, call us. We'll be able to tell you what that is. So yeah, the only thing that's not in it is the frame and the mock load that you're gonna need to have prepared before you can give the exam.
Nice. Thanks.
Real quick, Brian, do we have an update when we had sent in pictures of our flawed equipment that came in that kit? What's happening with that?
Yeah, so all of that stuff is in. I just have to so since I don't work in DC, I've got to get with Jason, give him the list of where all of that stuff has to go, and then all of that stuff is going to get shipped out to your facility that you need based on the list of stuff that I've got. Now, if you have things in your kit that are bad that you didn't tell me about, I didn't order anything for you. So I gave everybody ample opportunity to get their kits fixed. So if we do an inspection of your facility during a test, an audit, and we find that you don't have the proper stuff in your kit, then your testing will get revoked until your kit is brought up to date.
Okay.
But yeah, we've got it all in based on the information that I had, and we'll be trying to get that out in the next couple of weeks.
Nice. Thanks, Brian. So we're getting on the top of the hour. I really want to try to get everybody out of here under the hour. So I think we were going to jump back to Mike on some of the ATS stuff in the Windows. Mike, you got a couple minutes? You want to, I'll jump the host to you and you can share your screen.
Yeah, if I can share my screen, I can pull up the ATS.
Okay. You should be the host and have the ability to share.
Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully. So does everybody see the ATS up there now?
Yes.
Okay.
Looks good.
So just for those of you have heard me refer to I got the Super Snooper. As you can see, I got the locals over here. I can click on any local 1, 2, 1, 3, 5, 5S. That's how we go in, just so you guys know, all of us have that Super Snooper. But here's where the it wasn't really put out, but up here in the top right-hand corner is alerts and support. And this was just put on here. So is the pop-up showing now? Can you? The pop-up showed up, James? Okay. So when you click on it, it comes on this, and I apologize because the Zoom's kind of in the on top of my screen, so I can't see the whole thing. But over here is important IWATS known issues right here. Somebody asked compatibility right here. Let me know if it's not keeping
You're doing
up,
good.
but
It's looking good, buddy.
is not fully compatible. They know this. They're working on it. Here's some of the related stuff on the website on this link back here that's kind of tied to compatibility with this. So it does say that it's not fully compatible with Microsoft Internet Explorer only. They are working on that. From my understanding, this is like top of the desk type thing that they got IT's working on. You can leave a reply here, and also on this link, I think to expedite, again, I got to move the Zoom around here, but you can contact IT and send them some messages if you need to. So I'm going to kind of go back. I think I'm going back.
Yep.
Yeah. So here's, whoops, sorry, didn't mean to do that, but different web compatibility, IWITS, IWATS, and some different things. More what we're probably interested as coordinators is the IWATS side and known issues. So these are some issues that they've been submitted to them and they're working on. And somewhere on here, I was going to point it out. It must have removed it already. But this is the kind of the new thing on the, I'm going to close that. Hopefully it goes back. So that's, again, that's where to find that is up here on alerts and support. So
Nice.
and I just, for you guys, a little behind the scenes, the international, here's the super snooper here. I could click any one of your locals and kind of look at your tracking system right now. And it's updated instantly. I see a lot of smiles.
Nice.
Oh, and I will tell you guys, just an FYI, it might be a little quicker for you guys rather than if you just got a class to open, if you messed up on your ATS and you need to reopen a class, James, Brian, Jason Corder, myself, we have the ability to go in and open a class and delete classes for you. It's a little quicker than going through IT help desk.
Nice.
I usually do that. You send me an email. I usually do that when I'm sitting in the hotel room with nothing else to do. I can reopen them or delete them for you.
All right. Anybody got any questions for Mike regarding that? Showed you some good resources there to get a hold of IT. All right. Okay, we've got about, thank you, Mike. I appreciate you. That was good. I'm going to lower your hand. There you go. Okay, we've got about like 5 minutes. We're kind of into the Q&A discussion. If anybody has any topics they'd like to discuss or questions they'd like to ask, please put them in the chat. Lee, do you want to wrap up on anything while we're kind of waiting?
Two quick things before we have any questions or answers. So started spitballing earlier when we started talking about the coordinator meeting in September in Denver, local 24 coordinator meeting. The intent after talking with my staff at headquarters and with Brian and James and Michael, we are considering going strictly to electronic communication after probably around October. That means getting away from snail mail. We're going to try to do our best. So the listserv is going to play an important part of communication getting out to you guys. So thank you. I know you guys are on it. Otherwise, you would not have got this notice to participate. But we still have quite a few coordinators that do not check their listserv messages. So when I get a full audience in September, I'm going to tell them you better get on board and start checking, because there's going to be a time where we're going to stop sending stuff through the US mail system. Hopefully, that's the goal. Okay, that being said, I need to talk to everybody about the weld certification cards that are being processed, either new certifications and or renewals at headquarters. There is a lack of global supplies, and we are having extremely difficult time getting the ribbons to print the cards. I'm not sure how much we've got left, maybe 6 weeks worth of cards left, and then we're going to be out. So in 2020, when we were hit with the pandemic and most of us were working from home, we had the ability to process the new certifications and the renewals, but we could not print a card because we were not at the office. And we were relying on electronic verification. There is going to be a time this year that we have to go back to electronic verification. So everything I'm telling you right now, I'm going to put in an email to listserv and give you the steps. So right now, if you recall, if somebody needed verification online for a welder certification, they go to www.welderscertification.org. And if Brian or James, if you're a fast typist, you could probably add this down below in the notes section. Welderscertification.org. And on the home page, click login and then type read only. Type in read only as both your username and your password. And then once logged on, you can type the member's book number in the column and click the go button and wait till the name pops up and then click on their last name. And then you can click on the screen test results, and then every welder certification the welder has will be available for viewing. There's going to be a time we're all going to have to rely on that later this year unless we get supplies. And right now, there's still a global limited supply of everything, not just ribbons for our printer cards and everything. And this is one of them. So I'm preparing you guys when you hear something from your welders that, hey, I can't get a card. There are ways to check online. Now, we are also thinking about doing two things. One, most of you have heard of Linked Union, the app. And I've heard there's probably around 60 or 7 different local unions that have this Linked Union app as part of the local union. And there's going to be hopefully a digital card used through this app down the road if you're part of Linked Union. And if you don't know what Linked Union is, you can go online and find out information. You can talk to your business manager. He made us something about it, or give us a call. Specifically Jason Quarter. He seems to know quite a bit about Linked Union. He's handling all the communication between our department and them regarding producing a digital card in the future. And the next thing I want to talk about is really irritating, because I hope it doesn't happen. We considered for a moment of putting a PDF of a welder certification out there, just to help the welder have another way of proving a certification. And as soon as I said that, somebody said, well, yeah, as soon as you do that, they're going to make fraudulent cards. I hope to God that never happens. We may not do the PDF. We may do it. Digital card would be ideal. But I'll guarantee you, just like any other certification, if there's any fraud going involved by our members, I will put charges against them myself and ban them from any future certification. We cannot harm our relationship with the American Welding Society. About 5 or 6 years ago, Michael Sampson brought to my attention that a carpenter somewhere across the country was making fraudulent OSHA cards. That was a federal offense. I'm not sure, I didn't follow up on it, but I know that person was in hot water. And, you know, our weld cards is not a federal offense, but I take offense. And I'm not going to, you know, I want the majority of our members who are doing the right thing. I'll help them whatever I can. But somebody made it aware that if you start putting a PDF, it's going to be fraudulent. And I certainly hope that not would happen. So more information to come regarding a digital card and or a PDF. But at the very least, you've got the online verification through the weldercertification.org program. And again, we'll put this all on the listserv for you so you have that information. Other than that, I'm going to turn it back over to James. I know we've got a couple minutes left, and I'm really excited about this monthly webinar. I think it's important that we keep it under an hour. I appreciate everybody's time. Be safe. And James, I'm going to turn it back to you.
All right. Thanks, Lee. We've got a question in the chat. Can we somehow make the certification cards where they can be viewed by every local ? Without having to go through 3 or 4 extra steps? Just on brief from kind of what I heard encapsulating, I'm thinking that maybe we're hoping that that app will have that that function. You know, and again, if you got any specific questions, I would just kind of default to reach out to Jason Quarter. This is kind of his wheelhouse at the current moment, so he might be a better resource for some kind of up-to-date information. And with that, we are at 8:59. I don't see any questions in the chat. Like Lee said, we really put this together just to kind of bring us all together and have a platform to be able to keep everybody up to date with what we're doing, and you know, keep up to date with what your guys' needs are and what you're seeing, and give everybody a platform just to kind of communicate. So yeah, I know it's noon there, Mike. Still early for me. I got a long day to go. So with that, if we do not have any questions, it is 9 o'clock, and I guess we will adjourn the meeting. And I will be putting out little feelers on when our next meeting is going to be. We capped out at 45 participants today. So I thank all of you for being here and helping us make this thing what it is. So with that, unless you have anything else, Lee, have a good day.
You bet. Be safe, everybody. Thank you.
Have a good one, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, James, you should hold up your other hand when you wave, buddy.
No, I like to really throw
Hobbit.
out my weaknesses.
Hobbit, hand it.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'm going to end the meeting.